Tanya Harris stared at the white hospital wall, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. The doctor's words kept replaying in her mind. Sudden cardiac arrest. Did everything we could. So sorry for your loss. Her two younger sisters sat on either side of her in the cold waiting room, Amora's face buried in Tanya's shoulder while 8-year-old Nia clutched a stuffed rabbit their mother had won at a fair last summer. What are we going to do? Amora whispered, her voice cracking. At 12 years old, she was old enough to understand what this meant. No mother. No father, who had left when Nia was born. Just Tanya, who was 26 and working 2 jobs just to keep them fed. Tanya's phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen, their landlord. So sorry to hear about your mother. The lease was in her name. I need you out by Friday. My son needs the apartment. Friday. That was 3 days away. Tanya. Nia's small voice broke through her panic. Where's Mima? Can we see her? Tanya pulled both girls closer, fighting back tears. She had to be strong. She was all they had now. But she had no idea how she would pay for a funeral. She had no idea where they would sleep in 3 days. She had exactly $247 in her bank account and a stack of hospital bills that would arrive soon. Our mom died this morning, Tanya heard herself say out loud, the words feeling foreign and wrong. We have nowhere to go. She didn't realize she'd said it loudly enough for anyone else to hear until a man in an expensive charcoal suit stopped walking and turned to look at them. Have you ever faced a moment where everything fell apart at once? Drop a comment below and let us know how you kept going. And please subscribe so you don't miss how this family finds hope in their darkest hour. The call came at 5:47 in the morning. Tanya was already awake, getting ready for her shift at the coffee shop, when her phone lit up with a number she didn't recognize. Hospital calls were never good news. Is this Tanya Harris? This is Mercy General Hospital. Your mother, Diane Harris, was brought in an hour ago. You need to come right away. Tanya's stomach dropped. She ran to wake up Amora and Nia, throwing clothes at them and rushing them out the door. The bus ride to the hospital felt like it took forever, even though it was only 20 minutes. Nia kept asking questions Tanya couldn't answer. Amora stayed silent, her jaw tight with worry. By the time they arrived, it was too late. The doctor met them in the hallway with that look, the one Tanya had seen in movies but never thought she'd see directed at her. Massive heart attack. She was only 48 years old. There had been no warning signs, no chance to say goodbye. They sat in the waiting room because Tanya couldn't make herself leave yet. A hospital administrator named Dr. Brooks came to talk to her about paperwork, about billing, about arrangements that needed to be made. The words washed over Tanya like cold water. Funeral home. Death certificate. Outstanding balance. How much? Tanya asked, her voice hollow. The emergency services and attempts at resuscitation came to just over $18,000. Do you have insurance information? Tanya shook her head. Her mother's insurance through her job at the grocery store had lapsed 2 months ago when they cut her hours. They had been trying to get on a payment plan for the cheaper option. I see, Dr. Brooks said gently. We can discuss payment options. I'm very sorry for your loss. After she left, Tanya checked her phone and saw Mrs. Chen's text. She read it 3 times, trying to make the words say something different. But they didn't change. Out by Friday. Her mother had always paid rent on time, but Mrs. Chen's son was getting divorced and needed a place to stay. The lease was month to month, and now it was over. Tanya put her head in her hands. She had 2 jobs, but neither paid enough to cover first and last month's rent on a new place, not while also paying for a funeral. Her mother's job wouldn't give them anything. There was no life insurance. No savings. Nothing. Excuse me, a deep voice said. Tanya looked up. A tall black man in a perfectly tailored suit stood a few feet away. He had kind eyes and looked to be in his mid-30s. Everything about him, from his watch to his shoes, screamed money. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but overhear, he said, his voice gentle. I know this is a terrible time. My name is Julian Cross. I'd like to help if you'll let me. Tanya stared at the stranger, too exhausted to be suspicious. Help how? Julian sat down in the chair across from her, keeping a respectful distance. I lost my mother when I was 15. I know how overwhelming this moment is. You mentioned nowhere to go, and I assume there are funeral costs to consider. I don't need charity, Tanya started to say, but then she stopped. Her mother's voice echoed in her head, something she'd said 100 times. Pride is expensive, baby. When someone offers you a hand, take it with grace. You can pay it forward later. Actually, Tanya said slowly, looking at her sister's tired faces, I do need help. I need a lot of help. Julian nodded. Tell me what you need. So Tanya told him. About the hospital bills, the funeral costs, the apartment situation, the jobs that barely covered groceries. She told him everything because she had nothing left to lose and 2 little girls depending on her. When she finished, Julian was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone. I'm going to make some calls. First, I have a corporate apartment that's sitting empty. You and your sisters can stay there as long as you need. Second, I'll handle the hospital bills and funeral arrangements. You shouldn't have to worry about money while you're grieving. Why would you do this? Tanya asked, tears finally spilling over. You don't even know us. Because someone helped me once when I had nothing, Julian said simply. Because your sisters deserve stability right now. Because it's the right thing to do. He made 3 phone calls right there in the waiting room. The first was to the hospital administration, setting up payment for the bills. The second was to a funeral home, arranging a meeting for the next day. The third was to his assistant, instructing her to prepare the apartment on Riverside Drive. The apartment has 3 bedrooms, Julian said after he hung up. It's furnished. My assistant will have keys ready this afternoon and she'll stock the kitchen with basics. Here's my card. Call me if you need anything else. Tanya took the card with shaking hands. Julian Cross, CEO, Cross Technologies. She'd heard of his company. Everyone had. He'd built one of the most successful tech firms in the country. Thank you, she whispered. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. You don't have to repay me, Julian said. Just take care of your sisters. That's enough. After he left, Amora looked up at Tanya. Is he real? Did that just happen? I think so, Tanya said, still staring at the business card. She had expected this day to end in complete disaster. Instead, a stranger had given them a lifeline. She didn't believe in miracles, but this felt close. Dr. Brooks returned with paperwork, but her expression had changed. Mr. Cross's office just called. Your mother's bills have been taken care of. You're free to go whenever you're ready. The funeral was small but beautiful. Julian had connected them with a funeral home that treated them with dignity and respect. Tanya chose a simple service at a chapel, with flowers that her mother would have loved. She was surprised when Julian showed up, sitting quietly in the back row. After the service, as people filed out, Julian approached them. How are you holding up? Better than I expected, Tanya admitted. The corporate apartment had been a blessing. It was clean, safe, and in a good neighborhood. For the first time in years, Tanya didn't have to worry about break-ins or loud neighbors or the heat not working. I'd like to help with something else, Julian said. Your building, the one you were being evicted from. I sent someone to get your belongings yesterday. Everything's been moved to a storage unit until you're ready to sort through it. Tanya felt tears well up again. She hadn't even thought about their stuff. You didn't have to do that. I know, Julian said. But I wanted to. If you're ready, I can help you move everything to the apartment today. My assistant lined up some movers. They spent the afternoon going through boxes, deciding what to keep and what to let go. Julian helped carry furniture, never complaining, never acting like he was too important for the work. He played games with Nia while Amora and Tanya organized the kitchen. He told stories about his own childhood that made them laugh. I grew up in foster care, Julian said as they took a break on the apartment's balcony. Bounced around until I aged out at 18. Never knew my father. Lost my mom to cancer when I was a teenager. I'm sorry, Tanya said softly. It was a long time ago, Julian said. But I remember what it felt like. Being scared, not knowing if things would ever get better. That's why I started my company. I wanted to build something stable, something that could help other people build stability too. What about you? He asked. What did you want to do before all this? Tanya hesitated. I wanted to go to college. Study social work, maybe. Help families like mine. But when Mom got sick 3 years ago, I had to drop out and take care of everyone. That's not over, Julian said. You could still do that. With what time? What money? Tanya laughed bitterly. Let me think about it, Julian said. There might be a way. 2 days later, Julian called Tanya. Can you come to my office? I have a proposal for you. Tanya arranged for a neighbor to watch the girls and took the subway to Cross Technologies headquarters. The building was glass and steel, modern and impressive. Julian's assistant met her in the lobby and brought her up to the top floor. Julian's office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He stood when she entered, gesturing for her to sit. I've been thinking about your situation, he said. You need income and flexibility. I need someone to run my community outreach program. The position offers full benefits, including health insurance for you and your sisters. The hours are flexible. You can work from home when needed. Tanya's heart raced. I don't have the qualifications. You have life experience. You have empathy. You have organizational skills from managing 2 jobs and a household. That's more valuable than a degree, Julian said. I'll provide training. If you're interested, the job is yours. Yes, Tanya said immediately, remembering her mother's advice about accepting help. Yes, absolutely. Good. There's more. I've connected with the principal at Brighton Academy. It's a charter school about 2 blocks from your apartment. They have a spot for Amora in their 7th grade program. The education is excellent and it's free. They also have an after-school program where Nia can go until you're done with work. Tanya couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face. You start Monday, Julian said gently. Take the rest of this week to get the girls settled. My assistant will send over all the paperwork. When Tanya got home, she told Amora and Nia the news. Amora smiled for the first time since their mother died. Nia asked if they could stay in the nice apartment forever. I don't know about forever, Tanya said. But we're going to be okay. We're really going to be okay. That night, after the girls fell asleep, Tanya sat on the balcony and cried. Not from sadness this time, but from relief. From gratitude. From the overwhelming feeling that maybe, just maybe, they had been given a second chance. Tanya's first few weeks at Cross Technologies were challenging but rewarding. She worked with non-profits across the city, connecting them with funding and resources. Julian checked in regularly, offering guidance and support. She discovered she was good at the work, at understanding what communities needed and finding ways to help. The girls adjusted to their new schools. Amora thrived at Brighton Academy, joining the science club and making friends. Nia loved her after-school program, especially the art classes. For the first time in years, they felt stable. Julian started dropping by the apartment on weekends. At first, Tanya thought he was just checking on his investment. But then she noticed how he lit up when he talked to the girls, how he remembered little details they told him, how he never seemed in a hurry to leave. One Saturday, he took them all to the Science Museum. Nia dragged him to the butterfly exhibit while Amora peppered him with questions about technology and engineering. Tanya watched him crouch down to Nia's level, pointing out different species, his expensive suit forgotten as he sat on the floor. He's nice, Amora said that night as Tanya tucked her in. Do you think he likes us? I think he does, Tanya said softly. Do you like him? Amora asked, her 12-year-old eyes too knowing. Tanya's cheeks heated. He's my boss, Amora. That's not an answer, Amora said, grinning. The truth was, Tanya did like Julian. She liked the way he listened when she talked, really listened. She liked how he treated her sisters with genuine affection. She liked his laugh, his intelligence, his kindness. But she couldn't let herself think that way. He was a billionaire. She was a woman he'd taken pity on. It would never work. Still, she couldn't help but notice the way her heart raced when he called, or how she found herself looking forward to their meetings at work. One evening, they stayed late at the office working on a new initiative. Julian ordered dinner and they ate at the conference table, talking about everything and nothing. "Thank you," Tanya said suddenly. "For everything. I don't think I've really said that enough." "You don't need to keep thanking me," Julian said. "I'm not doing this for gratitude." "Then why?" Tanya asked. Julian met her eyes. "Because you and your sisters deserve good things. Because helping you makes me happy. Because..." He paused, then shook his head. "Because it's the right thing to do." But Tanya had seen something in his eyes, something that made her wonder if there was more to it than that. "What would you do if someone changed your whole life like this? Would you be able to accept it? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to see where this story goes next." 3 months after their mother's death, Patricia Ross from Child Protective Services came to visit. It was a routine check, she explained, since the custody situation had changed. She asked questions about Tanya's income, the living arrangement, the girls' schooling. "This apartment belongs to Mr. Cross's company?" Patricia asked, making notes. "Yes," Tanya said, her stomach tightening. "It's temporary until I can afford my own place." "And your job is also through Mr. Cross?" "Yes. He hired me for the community outreach program." Patricia's expression was neutral, but Tanya could sense judgment underneath. "I see. Ms. Harris, I need to be frank with you. If you want permanent guardianship of your sisters, you'll need to show financial independence and housing stability. Right now, everything in your life is connected to one person. If that relationship changes, where does that leave the girls?" After Patricia left, Tanya sat on the couch, her mind racing. She hadn't thought about it that way. What if Julian got tired of helping them? What if the company needed the apartment back? What if she lost her job? She'd be right back where she started, except now her sisters would be taken away. That evening, Julian stopped by with pizza. He'd been doing that lately, bringing dinner and eating with them. Tanya waited until after the girls went to bed, then told him about the visit. "She has a point," Tanya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm too dependent on you. If something happens, I'll lose my sisters." Julian's face darkened. "That's not going to happen. I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow. We're filing for permanent guardianship and we're going to make sure you have everything you need to get it." "Julian, you can't keep fixing everything for me," Tanya said. "Why not?" Julian asked, standing up. "Why do you have to do this alone? Your mother's gone, Tanya. You don't have anyone else. Let me be that person for you. Let me help. Because what happens when you leave?" Tanya's voice broke. "What happens when you realize we're too much trouble? My sisters will be devastated. I'll be..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Julian crossed the room and took her hands. "I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. Don't you understand that yet? You're a billionaire," Tanya whispered. "I'm nobody. Why would you stay?" "Because I care about you," Julian said, his voice rough with emotion. "All of you. This stopped being about charity a long time ago." Tanya looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. He pulled her into his arms and she let herself break down, sobbing into his chest. He held her until she had no tears left, murmuring reassurances. When she finally pulled back, they were standing so close. His hand came up to wipe tears from her cheek. For a moment, Tanya thought he might kiss her, and she wanted him to. But then she stepped back, scared of what it would mean, scared of wanting something she couldn't have. "I should go," Julian said quietly. "But tomorrow, we're seeing the lawyer. Together." After he left, Tanya sat in the dark living room, her heart still racing. Everything was getting complicated. She was falling for him, and that terrified her more than anything. The lawyer Julian hired was efficient and thorough. She assured Tanya that permanent guardianship was well within reach, especially with the stability Tanya could now demonstrate. They filed the paperwork and scheduled a court date for 6 months out. But the conversation with Patricia had shaken Tanya. She started looking at apartments she could afford on her own, started saving every penny from her paychecks. She pulled back from Julian, keeping their interactions professional at work and making excuses when he suggested weekend outings with the girls. Amora noticed immediately. "Why isn't Mr. Julian coming over anymore?" she asked one evening. "He's busy," Tanya said. "He has his own life. But he likes spending time with us," Nia said, her lower lip trembling. "Did we do something wrong?" "No, baby," Tanya said quickly. "You didn't do anything wrong." The following Saturday, Julian showed up at the apartment unannounced. "We need to talk," he said. "The girls," they asked Amora. "Can you get someone to watch them?" Tanya called the neighbor and they left the building, walking to a nearby park. It was a beautiful afternoon, families playing, dogs running. Everything felt too normal for the conversation they needed to have. "Why are you pushing me away?" Julian asked as they sat on a bench. "I'm not," Tanya said. "I'm just trying to be realistic." "About what?" "About us. About whatever this is." Tanya gestured between them. "You've been incredible, Julian. You saved us. But I can't keep leaning on you forever. I need to stand on my own." "Why can't you do both?" Julian asked. "Why can't you be independent and still let people care about you?" "Because I'm falling for you," Tanya said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "And that's a problem. You're my boss. You're the person keeping a roof over our heads. You're everything we need, and if I let myself feel this way and it doesn't work out, I'll lose everything. My sisters will lose everything." Julian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. "I had a girlfriend in college. Sophia. We were going to get married after graduation. She died in a car accident our senior year. I thought I'd never feel that way about anyone again." He turned to face Tanya. "Then I met you in that hospital waiting room, and something in me woke up. At first, I told myself I was just helping. But then I got to know you, got to know your sisters, and I realized I was falling for all of you. The way you protect them, the way you smile when they make you laugh, the way you've survived when most people would have given up." "Julian," Tanya whispered. "I'm not going anywhere," he said firmly. "Whether you want to be with me or not, I'm still going to be here for your family. The apartment, the job, everything stays no matter what you decide about us. You're not dependent on me being in your life romantically. But I want to be in your life that way. I want to be part of your family if you'll let me." Tanya felt tears sliding down her cheeks again. "What if it doesn't work? What if it does?" Julian countered. "What if we could build something real together? I know it's scary. Trust me, it terrifies me too. But I'd rather try and fail than never try at all." Tanya thought about her mother, about the advice she'd given. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone in. Sometimes you have to take a chance on love. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay, let's try." Julian smiled, really smiled, and Tanya felt her heart soar. They sat in the park talking until the sun started to set, making plans, talking about taking things slow, about being careful with the girls' feelings. When they finally walked back to the apartment, Julian took her hand, and Tanya let him. They decided to date slowly and carefully, always putting Amora and Nia first. Julian didn't sleep over, didn't push for more than Tanya was ready to give. He showed up consistently, proving through actions that he meant what he said about staying. He attended Nia's dance recital, sitting in the audience with Tanya and cheering louder than anyone else. He helped Amora prepare for the entrance exam to a prestigious middle school STEM program, spending hours going over practice problems. He brought Tanya coffee when she had early meetings, remembered when she was stressed, gave her space when she needed it. The girls noticed the change. One evening, as Julian was leaving after dinner, Nia hugged him tight. "I wish you could stay forever," she said. Julian looked at Tanya over Nia's head, something warm and hopeful in his eyes. "Maybe someday, kiddo." At work, Tanya flourished. She developed a mentorship program for single mothers, partnering with local businesses to provide job training and childcare support. Julian watched her present the program to the board with obvious pride. "You're a natural at this," he told her afterward. "You found your calling." "I think I did," Tanya agreed. "Thank you for giving me the chance." "You did this yourself," Julian said. "I just opened the door." You walked through it. They went on actual dates when the girls were at sleepovers or with trusted neighbors. Dinner at quiet restaurants, walks along the river, movies. They talked about everything, learning each other's quirks and habits. Tanya learned that Julian woke up at 5 every morning to work out, that he hated mushrooms, that he still visited his mother's grave every month. Julian learned that Tanya sang off-key in the shower, that she was terrified of spiders, that she dreamed of one day writing a book about her experiences. 6 weeks into their relationship, Julian kissed her for the first time. They were on her balcony after the girls had gone to bed, talking about something inconsequential. He reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and suddenly the air between them felt charged. When he leaned in, Tanya met him halfway. The kiss was soft and sweet and full of promise. "I love you," Julian said when they broke apart. "I know it's fast, but I can't keep it in anymore. I love you, Tanya. I love your sisters. I love the life we're building." Tanya's eyes filled with tears, but for once they were happy tears. "I love you too," she whispered. "I've loved you for weeks, but I was too scared to say it." They stood there holding each other as the city lights twinkled below, both of them finally letting themselves believe this was real. The guardianship hearing took place on a cold December morning. Tanya wore the professional suit Julian had helped her pick out, her hands sweating as she sat in the courtroom. Patricia Ross had submitted a glowing report about the girls' progress and Tanya's stability. The judge reviewed the documents, asked a few questions, and then smiled. "Ms. Harris, it's clear you've provided a loving, stable home for your sisters. Permanent guardianship is granted." Tanya burst into tears. Julian squeezed her hand. When they left the courthouse, Amora and Nia were waiting with Julian's assistant. Tanya told them the news and all 3 girls cried together, holding each other tight. "We're really staying together?" Nia asked. "Forever. Forever," Tanya promised. "Nothing's going to split us up." That evening, Julian suggested they celebrate at his penthouse. He'd been living in a hotel suite during their relationship, giving Tanya space, but he wanted to share his home with them now. The penthouse was stunning, all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture. But what caught Tanya's attention was the way Julian had prepared for them. There were flowers on the table, a cake in the fridge, a stack of board games on the counter. They had dinner together, laughing and talking. After the meal, as Tanya was helping Julian clean up in the kitchen, Amora came in with Nia. "Mr. Julian," Amora said, her voice serious. "Can we ask you something?" "Of course," Julian said, setting down the dish towel. "Are you going to be part of our forever family?" Amora asked. "Like, officially?" Julian glanced at Tanya, a question in his eyes. She nodded, giving him permission to answer honestly. "I'd like to be," Julian said carefully. "If that's something you'd want too." "We want it," Nia said immediately. "We want you to stay forever." "Then I will," Julian promised. "If your sister says it's okay." Both girls looked at Tanya expectantly. She felt her eyes fill with tears again. "It's more than okay," she said. After the girls were settled in the guest room, Tanya and Julian sat on his balcony, wrapped in blankets against the cold. The city stretched out before them, full of lights and possibilities. "I meant what I said to the girls," Julian said. "I want forever with all of you. I'm not ready to propose yet, I don't want to rush you. But I need you to know that's where I'm headed. I want to marry you, Tanya. I want to be a father to Amora and Nia. I want to build a life together." Tanya leaned against him, feeling safe and loved. "I want that too," she said. "For the first time since my mom died, I can see a future. A happy one. Because of you. Because of us," Julian corrected. "We did this together. Can you believe how far this family has come? From losing everything to finding a new beginning." Subscribe to see the beautiful ending to this story, you won't want to miss it. 1 year after Diane Harris's death, Tanya, Amora, and Nia visited her grave. They brought fresh flowers and stood together in the quiet cemetery, remembering. "I miss her every day," Amora said softly. "Me too," Tanya said. "But I think she'd be happy about how things turned out. She always wanted us to be okay. She'd like Mr. Julian," Nia said. She told me once that she wanted us to have someone who would take care of us. Someone kind. Julian had stayed back at the car, giving them space. But as they walked back toward him, Tanya reached out and took his hand, pulling him forward. You should be here too, she said. You're family now. That evening, back at the apartment, they had a quiet dinner. Julian had been acting nervous all day, checking his watch, fidgeting. After they finished eating and the girls were clearing plates, he stood up. I have something I want to ask, he said, his voice shaking slightly. All of you. He pulled out 3 small boxes. Opening them, Tanya saw 3 delicate necklaces, each with a heart pendant. Julian handed 1 box to Amora, 1 to Nia, and then turned to Tanya with the 3rd. A year ago, I met 3 of the bravest people I've ever known, Julian said. You were facing the worst day of your lives, and you were still there for each other. Over this past year, you've let me into your family, let me be part of your lives. You've made me happier than I ever thought I could be. He got down on one knee, and Tanya gasped. From his pocket, he pulled out a ring, simple and beautiful. Tanya Harris, I love you. I love your strength, your heart, your dedication to your sisters. I want to spend the rest of my life loving you, supporting you, being your partner. He looked at Amora and Nia. And I want to be part of this family officially. Not just as a friend or a helper, but as someone who's committed to all of you forever. Amora, Nia, would you be okay with me marrying your sister and being part of your family always? Yes. Nia shouted, bouncing up and down. Definitely yes, Amora said, grinning through tears. Julian turned back to Tanya. So what do you say? Will you marry me? Tanya couldn't speak through her tears, so she just nodded frantically. Julian slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms. Amora and Nia joined the hug, all 4 of them holding each other in the middle of the kitchen. 3 months later, they stood in a small chapel decorated with white flowers. Amora and Nia wore matching blue dresses as junior bridesmaids. Tanya wore a simple white gown, her mother's pearl earrings the something old. As she walked down the aisle, she could swear she felt her mother's presence, blessing this new chapter. Julian's vows made everyone cry. I promise to love you in the hard times and celebrate with you in the good ones. I promise to be a father to Amora and Nia, to support their dreams and guide them as they grow. I promise to build a home with all of you, filled with love and laughter. Tanya's vows were simple but heartfelt. You showed up when we needed someone most. You stayed when you could have walked away. You loved us when we were broken and helped us heal. I promise to love you, trust you, and build a beautiful life with you. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Amora and Nia cheered. Julian kissed his bride, then scooped up both girls in a group hug. The reception was small, just close friends and Julian's business associates who had become like family. As Tanya danced with her new husband, Amora and Nia dancing nearby, she thought about the journey that had brought them here. They'd started with nothing. Grief and fear and an uncertain future. But through kindness, through accepting help when it was offered, through taking chances on love, they'd found everything. A home. Stability. A father for her sisters. A partner for herself. What are you thinking about? Julian asked, pulling her closer. How lucky we are, Tanya said. How one terrible day turned into something beautiful. That's all you, Julian said. Your strength, your courage, your willingness to let me in. You built this, Tanya. We built it, she corrected, echoing words he'd said to her before. Together. As the song ended, Julian kissed her forehead. Amora ran over, tugging on his sleeve. Can we get cake now? Julian laughed, that full, happy laugh Tanya loved so much. Absolutely. Come on, family. Let's get some cake. They walked together toward the cake table, for people who'd found each other in the darkest moment and chosen to build a future together. Tanya looked back once more, catching a glimpse of their reflection in the window. A family, whole and happy. Her mother would have loved this. And that, Tanya thought as she cut into the cake surrounded by the people she loved, was the best ending she could have asked for.